Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera Dent, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of my Dental A Team family. I seriously love doing this podcast. I thought I was going to hate it, and I love it. I love it so much because I get to connect with you. I get to hear how this podcast is helping you and your practice be better. So if you have loved this podcast and you are willing to share, I would greatly appreciate if you'll share with your friends, if you'll leave us a review, if you'll give us 5 stars, anything you can do. Just like you guys grow your practices, we're trying to grow this podcast to positively impact the world of dental. This is how we get to grow our Dental A Team family. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. We're your hosts, Kiera Dent
and Dr. Mark Costas.
Mark and I had this crazy idea that maybe we could combine a dentist and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. And Dental A Team podcast was created.
I'm a practicing dentist, a multiple practice owner, a dental performance coach, and the founder of the Dental Success Institute.
I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, current practice owner, and international dental consultant. Mark and I don't just understand you, we are you.
Our goal is to positively impact the world of dentistry by sharing our lessons learned from the road in hundreds of dental offices.
2 perspectives, 1 mission, to help dental professionals reach their full potential. Welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera, and I just got back from a 10-day trip, guys. I decided that I would do a Kiera style trip, which is insanity. We went up to Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island, toured around some Canada areas. That's where Jason had gone on his mission. And so I went back to see these places and it was super fun. And of course, Anne of Green Gables and Prince Edward Island. So it was a really, really fun time. But I am on a mission to have all 7 continents done by the end of 2020. So I was a little scared to go to Africa by myself. So I decided, Newfoundland, Canada is very close on my scratch map in my office to Spain, which is super close to Morocco. So in my head, I thought it'd be a brilliant idea to fly from Newfoundland, Canada, all the way over to Spain and Morocco. But let me tell you that Newfoundland does not fly to Spain. And it ended up being a 24-hour flight from the time I left Newfoundland to when I actually landed in Spain. And we did 10 days, 5 countries. It was insanity. It was so much fun, though. I feel exhausted. I'm jet lagged, so I'm up super early again because I also was brilliant and I thought it'd be a great idea. We'd fly back into JFK and I would go see, I had some offices over in New Jersey. So obviously, come back from being in Spain and Portugal and Morocco and go straight into an office. And I thought I was immune to jet lag, and I will tell you I'm not immune to jet lag at all. I have been on the weirdest schedule, waking up at the weirdest times. So it's been fantastic. But what I realized and what I wanted to chat about today, I'm going to do some podcasting solo this morning, is I want to do some reflection because I think in life we get so caught up on work and doing work constantly and being in the day in, day out. And it was crazy because I decided that I wanted to go 10 days and have my phone totally off. I thought if I'm taking this time off of the company, I have moved clients around. I've canceled seeing offices. That's obviously a revenue takeaway. What am I doing here? I should be present and be in the moment. It was terrifying, guys. It was so scary to have my phone literally on airplane mode for 10 days. I didn't check my email. And another reason I did it was because I wanted to see how my team was. I think as a leader, so often we're in there leading, guiding, directing, and sometimes we don't allow our teams to see where the breakdowns are, where the pieces are, because we're so obsessed with taking care of it and being on top of it and being over it and making sure none of the pieces fall. And so that was another thing, was to see, as a leader, how have I prepared my team? Can they do this without me? Because at the end of the day, am I an owner or an operator of the business? And what I mean by that is owners can actually own the business, not have to operate it day in and day out for it to continue to make money, to be successful, to deliver the services. It should act as if you are there without you being there as an owner. However, an operator is the one who's doing the day in, day out, keeping things going, managing. And I thought, I don't want to be the operator of my businesses anymore. It was fun when I started up, but at the end of the day, I can only expand if I'm an operator. So OMs, leads, dental assistants, all of you, look, like, what are you doing that is making you either an owner of your space, your zone, your lane, or are you an operator? And owners are the ones who have the leader, the foresight, and you're constantly innovating and figuring out how to make it better. And so what was super interesting is when I was gone on this trip, two things came about that I wanted to point out today. Number one, when I was on this trip, not in the whirlwind of work, clarity came. And so all of us need to have time. I was at Tony Robbins' Business Mastery class and they said, you should take 30 minutes a day. They said a day. I haven't done this, guys, but hey, I'm going to put it out there as like good dosing medicine. I've done 30 minutes a week, but not per day. So that's going to be my next level challenge for myself. But they said, take 30 minutes a day where you think about the business, you think about your job, you think about where you want to go, and you just think. You're not working on it. You're not answering emails. You're not in the whirlwind of it. You actually take time to think about the business. And when I was on the trip, it was kind of crazy because I was able to come up with clarity, direction, and a vision far beyond what I'd been able to create up to this point. And it was kind of cool because I didn't talk about the business a lot. I decided, don't bore the people I'm with business chatting all the time. And yes, a part of me felt like it was dying, but another part of me realized that all I do is talk about business. I talk about dentistry. I talk about business. I talk about teams. I talk about how to empower your teams. That there was a whole side of me that actually has died in the process of growing this business. The side of Kiera that can talk about something beyond dentistry and business. The side of Kiera that's not talking about employees or different things going on. That piece of me, like to just have a conversation with somebody, has died. And I realized I've got to refoster this. So of course I figured out Ariana Grande's Problems. I wanted to learn a rap. So yes, just so many different things that I realized were not there because I'm so obsessed with the business that I've allowed the other pieces of my life to kind of die off. So bring back, like have some creative moments for yourself where you're not just obsessed with the business. Like get outside of it, go paint, go to yoga, go to the juice bar, go do things that are not constantly business, because what I found is when you step away from it and you create space for you, you are then able to innovate and think of brilliant ideas that weren't there before. So while we were driving one day, we were on a lot of drives. You guys, we flew for 40 hours in 10 days. It was insanity. Like I should never be a travel agent. I booked the nutso crazy trips, but hey, my scratch map looks really pretty today, you guys. I scratched it off. That was the first thing I did this morning was scratch my map off. But we were driving and all of a sudden I was like, hey, can I chat about the business for 1 hour? And of course they said yes. And so I started talking about like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. And I just started like having a brainstorming session go. And it was so cool because I came up with 7 buckets is what I called them. And then I was able to place them in order. So like bucket 1 is how I'm going to grow the business right here currently. Bucket 2 is where I want to go. Bucket 3 is in the next phase. Bucket 4 is in the next phase. Bucket 6, 7. So then I can see a process that I wasn't able to see. And then I quickly like grabbed my phone, wrote down the notes because it was so innovative, so inspiring. I also realized that there was a piece where I'm like, gosh, darn it, my coaching calls, like I'm missing my coaching calls. They have to move. I feel trapped that I can't travel beyond, 1 or 2 weeks because my coaching calls come every single week. And I thought, well, that's a dumb model, Kiera. You're stuck in this because you can't move on. And I realized, actually, I have a lead consultant. I should train her with my clients. So when I'm out of town, the coaching calls can exist without me being there. I also realized meetings that I was running, I had my team run them when I was gone to see could they do these things. And it was so awesome to be gone for a long time because it forced me to figure out how to make my business better. Now, some people, I was talking to a dentist when I was in the office this week and he said, and I will not confess his name because it's a very vulnerable space, but he said, sometimes I have these fantasies that I'll get hit by a car and I'll have to be in the hospital and I won't be able to be in the business so I can actually, it forces me to systematize my business better. And I was like, that's extreme, but honestly, I've had the exact same thought. Like I make myself physically ill so I don't have to go to work so I can work on the business. Like this is so twisted, guys. And you're probably thinking I'm this psychopath, but the reality is so many people feel this way. We feel stuck. We feel trapped. We feel like, hey, like I love work, but it's getting in the way of the business, even though we love it. And so my challenge to you in all of this morning is find time, whether it's that 30 minutes a day where you actually work and just not even work on the business, but give yourself space just to think. Those ideas will come when we're not constantly frantic. Even as OMs, like give yourself some time to think. As team members, take time to think. Give yourself that space, that clear white space where you're actually thinking so these creative ideas can come to you. Also, the other point in this is find some way, somehow, that you can let your business, quote unquote, fall, where you're not going to be there to pick up the pieces so you can see where the broken pieces are in the business and make it better. Now, I don't want you to do this maliciously. Don't tell your team like, hey guys, I'm out of here. But for me, it required me to be gone in another country for 10 days where I didn't turn my phone on. By doing that, I was able to see the weaknesses and the holes in my business and also the strengths where my team is really, really, really good. People rose to the occasion. They got better. They did things better. And it was awesome to see the business flourish while I was gone. But there were some areas that still need some fine tuning. Beautiful. Coming back, I'm going to work on those weak areas so it can get stronger. To end all be all, it can function and operate without me doing it. That's the goal. That's where we want to get. But some of us, like, I will be 100% wildly honest in this, that it's sometimes hard for me because I don't feel I have a place or value if I have a team that functions without me. Now, like, think about that for a second. Does that resonate with you? Because some of us, like, our identity is so wrapped up in our businesses or our jobs that if we're not needed day in and day out, we don't feel we have a purpose. So therefore, we keep ourselves trapped and stuck in this world where everyone's dependent on us and we can't grow beyond ourselves because we have a need for significance. And it's totally fine. It's totally human. But where are you at? And for me, I had to realize I crave that significance piece. I need to find it in other areas. And it was so fun because when I watched my team flourish, I realized that's a product of what I've been able to inspire them to do. But end all be all, I've hired a dang good team. That's a product of this business. That to me says, like, Kiera, you're doing a darn good job because you have an amazing team that can function when you're not gone, exactly how they would function if you were here. That is what you want your team to be able to do. And that is a significance piece. But I was scared. I was super scared to lose it, to not be the face of the company, to not be the main consultant, to not be the one on the podcast, like all these pieces. So I have to find significance in other areas. But what limiting beliefs are you having? What areas are you micromanaging? And are you doing it for significance? Maybe, maybe not. But look at yourself. So action items coming in off this trip, coming in from so many different pieces. 1, give yourself that 30 minutes a day, a week, whatever it is. I want all of you to start doing this. Give yourself thinking time just to think. Think about where the business should go. And I'm always thinking, Tony Robbins said, businesses thrive on innovation and marketing. So how can you innovate and make this better? And how can you market better? Those two things are going to be the successful pieces of a business that we often forget because it's not urgent, but it's important. So 30 minutes of that time of how can you innovate? How can you make it better? What does the business even need? What does your position even need when you're not in the daily grind of it? Number 2, find a way somehow, and I've done this with offices, like I had 2 office managers at a huge practice in New Jersey where the office was literally dependent on these 2 office managers. And I finally said, nope, like we got to start having your team become a self-sufficient team. So they started finding little ways to make it inconvenient to come to them, to push their team, to think outside the box. That team is now operating at a higher level to where they can go buy another practice because they freed up their main people and they found the broken systems, fixed them. But it was because they found a way to test their team, to test where the pieces were broken without micromanaging. So find a way in your teams in whatever department you're in, even within yourself, test your own structures, test your own pieces. Like, what are you micromanaging? What's dependent solely on you? And how can you innovate that to make it to where it will run without you? Don't be afraid. Like I talked about before on the episode where I say fire yourself. Don't be afraid that you will lose your job because you're constantly going to be innovating and making it better. So those are my 2 takeaways from my trip, the 2 things I've been working on, the 2 things that I realized, holy moly, all of us as a society need to be doing this because we get so obsessed in our businesses that we lose sight of where we actually want to be going and why we're doing this train a lot of the times. So there's my Dental A team takeaways for you guys coming in off of that. Find the quiet time. Figure out how you can innovate market. How can you have your team flourish without you? And figure out how you can find significance in other areas beyond what you already know that's comfortable for you. Step outside that comfort zone. That's where the magic is. All right, Dental A Team listeners, can't wait to catch you guys next time on the Dental A Team Podcast.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.